Personal growth. Personal growth is the constant process of understanding yourself more deeply, improving the parts of yourself you struggle with, and slowly becoming the person you truly want to be. It's not about perfection, it's about continuing to grow throughout your life. Real personal growth comes from setting goals, facing challenges instead of running away from them, and taking time to honestly reflect on who you are, what you feel, and why you think the way you do. That's what builds resilience. Having a growth mindset means understanding that every experience, good or bad, has something to teach you. The more willing you are to learn from life instead of fighting it, the more you begin to change as a person. Before we continue the video, it's really important that we really understand that personal growth is personalized. I know some of you and most of you out there will probably say yeah, it's in the word personal growth. But I think it's really important that we actually understand what personalized means here. Everybody's experiences throughout life is based on what happened to them. That's why we can't compare it to ourselves. Just because I deem something as bad does not necessarily mean that it's bad to somebody else. And I also think it's important that we understand that negative experiences aren't the only thing that helps us improve. It's just fundamentally different from how we do with positive events. So on the screen, we see a comment from Jose on my previous video, and he asks about my opinion on personal growth and how both negative and positive things in life helps us grow to be the person we are today. Now, I agree. I do think that both negative and positive things in life do help us grow to become what we are today. But again, I'm here to give the nuance on that because it's a lot more deeper than we think. So I have some questions that I would like to answer. First off, why and how is it important that we seek to grow? I think it boils down to adaptability. This word adaptability is a very broad term, but I think it encompasses everything about why we live. We need to adapt to form better relationships. We need to adapt to stop us from getting into more trouble in the future. We need to adapt to be able to learn about future things. And I could go on and on and on. So why do we need to adapt and why do we feel it? By growing, it allows people to adapt to the chaos that occurs throughout our lives, to find the patterns that lead to certain aspects. What I mean by all of this is that when we grow, when something happens to us, whether it be good or bad, we understand the pattern that's involved with that event. And because we notice this pattern, we can then learn from that and prevent the chaos from happening in the first place. But this is also why our events cannot be compared to one another. Other people are more adapted to other things than what you are, and the way they adapted to that event is completely different. You can't understand a pattern of something if you have never witnessed it. So I have an analogy set up. You can't ever learn how to ride a bike if you never got on one. You will never understand the pattern of events that led you to falling, that led you to not being balanced, if you simply were not exposed to riding a bike. This analogy is here to explain that when you go through the motions of doing something, you start to understand why this happens to you, why you are falling off of a bike. But this analogy can be expressed to other skills. If you've never learned to ride a bike before, it's most likely going to be harder for you to ride any other two-wheeled object. Let's say a scooter, let's say a skateboard, because you've never learned the pattern of why you have lost your balance. This is why two people can experience the exact same event, yet react completely differently. One person may see the event as devastating and destructive, while another person who sees the exact same event treats it as a minor inconvenience. And this is not because one person is better than the other, but because their experiences have taught them different patterns about their lives. Every person is mentally shaped by what they've been exposed to. Their failures, their relationships, their fears, successes, insecurities, and the environment. All of this creates a personalized understanding of the world. And that's why growth matters. The more experiences we go through and learn from, the more adaptable we become to the chaos of life. We begin to recognize patterns faster. We begin to recover quicker from the event. And we understand ourselves more deeply. And in a way, personal growth is just the process of expanding your mind to navigate reality itself. So we answered the question, and we figured out why pursuing growth is important. But do we always have to suffer through something to become better? And in the original comment, he even pinpointed that we grow from both the negatives and the positives. But the question resides towards the negative, because I think most people know how to deal with the positive things in their lives. And what we want to do is actually learn from the negative mistakes and minimize that suffering from happening in the future. But how do we do that? The next question is what to do to make it easier when you do hit your hard times. First, I would like to state that you're most likely not alone. The things that you have been through also have been dealt with by other people. Some of them have gone through what you've gone through. So you're not alone. There's people who are going through it just like you. But that does not mean to say that what you went through wasn't terrible. The thing that you went through is terrible, and nobody can tell you that it isn't. But with that said, I think it's really important that your mindset doesn't trap you into that situation. I need to reiterate it again because I don't want anybody to be hurt by what I'm saying. You are the only one who understands what you have been through. You are the only one who knows how much you struggled, how much you've worked for what you've done. But I don't want you to trap yourself emotionally in that situation. You need to do something to release those emotions, to release the thoughts that are holding you from growing, you need to verbalize them. And if you can't do that, maybe you can write it down. And if you can't do that, maybe you could just break through them. Maybe put it on something and show your brain that you can break through whatever you're going through. The questions that I'm talking about here, that people say to themselves, that I've said to myself, that traps us into the state where we can't grow from the event that just occurred. Why me? This shouldn't have happened. Why is this happening? These thoughts make you spiral down to a depth that you can never escape from. You can't keep repeating these questions. No matter what it is you're going through, you have to do your best to just take one step forward. If you can't take a step forward, then crawl. And if you can't crawl, drag yourself. You don't need to fix the problem you have. And you don't need to solve it either. The first thing that you need to be able to do is get through your day. It's not about becoming perfect and getting back to what you were before. It's about getting your life moving again. So, we've talked about it. Why personal growth is important and how to push through the times that are super negative, the things that drag us down and feel like they live forever in our heads. But the video is getting to a point where I don't know what to say because personalized growth is something that you go through. So I'd like to go a different direction and talk about what not to do. Understand that we do grow from negative events. We do grow from pushing ourselves and to set goals that are currently out of our reach. But you shouldn't do it purposefully. It's not how growing works. There's nothing wrong with putting your goals high, and there's nothing wrong with pushing yourself to become better. But be careful. Because you have to set those goals and those standards to yourself only. Don't compare yourself to others. Because if you do, it'll diminish your growth rather than propel it higher. And a big reminder, because this video has really focused on the negative, but you can also grow through the positive event. It's just completely different. Negative events to me tend to be aggressive and they force us into a different direction. Whereas positive events are subtle and gentle, and they complement the path that you are already going. I want to talk about one last thing, and I think about it every time I go through it and every time I see other people going through it. And it's sad, but it's reality. Some people, they don't grow through pain and suffering. We see it everywhere. People who couldn't handle it anymore. People whose lives get completely destroyed. It's real. But I think, again, everybody's experiences are different. They're personalized. We have to realize that pain and suffering is only an opportunity to grow, not a guarantee. And that's why we need to understand that when there are things that you can control in your life, you have to do your best to go at the pace that you can handle. I want to leave you guys with just one last thing. Growth isn't about you becoming someone completely new. It's just about uncovering and unraveling the potential that you've always had. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. I must have said something that you liked. So maybe you could drop me a like and subscribe and follow my Twitch. I do gaming streams every weekday at night. I would appreciate a follow on there too. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.